Hello, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Thursday, the 6th of April. This is Maundy Thursday, and this is Church at Home with Rachel and Dude. He's going to hang out with us today. I contemplated whether or not to do this Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, Easter Vigil um, session of videos, whether to do them as Gospel on the Go with an actual showing of the liturgy, or whether to just do more of a Church of Home chatting about this. Dude's being a character today. So I thought if you want to see the actual liturgy, I invite you to turn back to 2 years ago to Easter when we were still doing COVID recording. And we did a pretty good job, if I do say so myself, my husband and I, of recording and editing and putting together the services for, it's one long service of Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and the Easter Vigil, but for those sections of service. So I encourage you to look those up for 2021. But today I'd like to talk to you about Maundy Thursday and what this means. In the Anglican Church, at least in my Anglican churches, it has been our history that this begins the Paschal Triduum, the 3 days of the Passion. When we talk about Jesus going into Jerusalem, the Last Supper, the Garden of Gethsemane, the trial, the crucifixion, the burial in the tomb, and then eventually the resurrection. And Maundy Thursday, we read the story. I'm sorry, back up to Passion Sunday. This past Sunday, we read the whole story. We talked about the triumphal entry of Jesus into Jerusalem and the palm waving and things like that. On Maundy Thursday, we read the gospel that talks about Jesus gathering his disciples together in the upper room and sharing that Last Supper, the Lord's Supper with them. And that was the meal that was so iconically embraced and caught by Michelangelo. I think believes Michelangelo's The Last Supper, which has a remarkable selfie-like attitude to it, with everybody sitting on one side of the table, and that has that picture, the way that Last Supper was envisioned by the artist, has really had a theological impact in the way we think about that night. And I have seen other images from different countries that more appropriately, I think, um, embrace what was really happening. Pictures where people are gathered around the table, they're facing each other. There's part of the lesson that talks about the gospel that talks about Jesus saying, "The one who will betray me is the one who's dipped his hand in his bread in the oil with me," and it makes it sound like Judas is the only one who's done that, and chances are all of them had. There's nothing in the gospel, in the scripture, that says that only one of them had actually done that. They're having a meal. They would be sopping up the olive oil. They would be eating the bread and passing the food back and forth, and drinking and doing what we do at meals. And what makes this in particular meal important for us as Christians is that this is the night that the meal itself changes. It isn't just the nourishing of the body, where it's a long day, everybody gets together, they break bread together, they eat some meat, they have probably olives and fruit and all of the different things that would make a good host or hostess would prepare for guests who have come. In particular, this is the Passover meal, so there would be scripture that would be read from the Torah. There would be stories told. There would be a very rhythmic way of the story, that the evening unfolding. It wouldn't be just a big bun fest where everybody gets together and if somebody comes late, they just cuss it in. There would have been a very specific, very liturgical way of preparing and then eating this Passover meal. But something changes on Maundy Thursday. This is the night when Jesus stops, sort of because the Passover, as I understand it, is a very teachable thing. It's a very teaching. And in this time, he's in teaching, he stops and he takes the bread, he breaks it. He said, "This is my body." And the wine, he pours it and said, "This is my blood. This is the cup that you will share. All of you will drink from this." And it sounds, I mean, lots of people think, Christianity being cannibalistic. And I understand that. I really do understand where that comes from, because the words we say them, when we say them out loud, "This is my body, this is my blood," that sounds so horrific in some ways. But in many ways, if you think about the importance of what he's done, he has in setting up, in instituting the Lord's Supper, which is what we do on Maundy Thursday. We talk about this being the first Lord's Supper. We commemorate that. We remember that. He institutes this meal in which we recognize for the first time not just that we are being nourished in our body for Passover to go out and become the chosen people who are being saved from the Egyptians, but we are moving into a place where we are being saved from evil and sin itself. And the one who allows us, the one who gives us that nourishment is Jesus Christ. And in doing so, we are allowed this incredible moment at the table when it's not just Jesus at the head of the table saying, "Here, I'm doing this for you." We're doing it together, and it's this image of they're passing each other the bread that he has just broken and passing the cup that he is sharing. This is a communal thing that they're doing this in his name, and he says to them, "Whenever you do this, remember me." Whenever we come together, so whenever we come together for Eucharist or for communion in the church, we are remembering this sacrifice that Jesus made. A sacrifice, yes, but a gift, an incredible gift that has given us new life and given us hope and given us the ability and hopefully the desire to go out and to do similar things for the people, not sacrifice our own lives, but to make sacrifices to serve other people. And part of that, for Maundy Thursday, for Anglicans anyway, in my bent of Anglican, is before we institute the Last Supper, the Lord's Supper, the Eucharist, first of all, we back that up a little bit, and I am given the opportunity to wash my congregation's feet. When people think about it, they didn't have Nikes and they didn't have paved roads. They had dusty, dirty roads. They wore sandals. So what would be the most hospitable thing a host could do when people came into their home, but to wash their feet, maybe to anoint their feet with oil, to make them smell nice, to make them feel soft and supple again. Because I imagine the calluses on those bare feet in those sandals would be pretty bad. So one of the very things that Jesus does was he takes the towel and he washes their feet. They think that they should be, he's the leader, he's the guy, they should be doing this for him, but he is doing this for them. And for me as a priest on Maundy Thursday, I take the time to wash my parishioners' feet. It's symbolic, so it's just one foot, and there's no soap or water. I take a big bowl and warm water and I pour it over the person's foot, and I wash them symbolically 3 times on the top of the foot and 3 times on the bottom, trying hard not to tickle people. Always acknowledging and recognizing the absolute humility it takes for people, because we really do tend to be shy about our feet. We're not really proud of the way our feet look. And so to allow someone else not only to see your barefoot, but to handle your barefoot it's a very powerful thing. It's a very humble thing to do. And so I try to honor that. And then when I have done that, after I've washed their foot, I draw the sign of the cross on their foot, and I hold their foot in my hands, and I say a prayer. It's not a set prayer. It's not a prayer I've memorized. It's simply a prayer that whatever words come into my mind that God would share with me. Maybe I know something of the struggle this person is going through, or maybe I know nothing, but an image or an idea pops into my head. And in that moment, that is when I pray those words silently. And then I remove their foot from the bowl and I take a towel and I dry their foot and I thank them. And then after that, in Maundy Thursday, we have the institution, the Lord's Supper, and then we move into um, after the communion is done, we move into what's called the stripping of the altar, and we strip down everything. I take off my vestments. Um, the symbols that show, like I usually wear white on Maundy Thursday, so they're very rich looking. I take those off until I am wearing simply my black cassock. I lay them on the altar. Then members of the altar guild and congregation come forward, and they very carefully and gently fold them up and remove them from the church. And we take the altar hangings off, and the chalice, the paten, the cup, and the plate from the bread and the wine and the water, and any hangings, because we often have things hanging around the church to make decorations to make it look beautiful for the seasons. Those are all removed. Pictures are taken from the wall. Crosses are removed, or if we can't remove them, we would veil them with a black or purple cloth. We strip the church until it is bare, until there is nothing there. And we leave in silence. We leave in silence. We leave knowing that Jesus has gone with his disciples to the Garden of Gethsemane, where he asked them to wait up with him to pray, and they fall asleep. Where we know that Judas has gone to tell the elders and the Pharisees where they can come and find Jesus, whom he has betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. Where Jesus goes into the garden, and while they do fall asleep, he is praying to God and saying, Dear God, if it is possible, take this cup from me. Don't let me have to do what is being asked of me. But if this must happen, then thy will be done. Jesus' humanity shows up so much in those moments in the garden where he is crying. In some parts of Scripture, there's an image where it sounds like he's sweating blood. This is a moment of absolute humanity in Jesus, that he is saying to God, my Father, do I have to do this? And we know that God isn't saying, yes, my son, you must do this. God is saying to him, you should do this. Could you do this? Will you do this? And Jesus makes the choice to do this. He makes the choice to veil himself, to not run away when Judas and those who are hunting him down come back. But he is there in the garden waiting for them. And oftentimes in churches where I've been able to, I have encouraged people to sit. We consecrate the bread and the wine, and then we have some extra we leave for a solemn Eucharist on Good Friday, and it sits on a table with a candle. And I invite people to come and sit and pray through the night, to stay present, to sit the vigil with Jesus through the night, with the body and blood, the presence of Christ in the bread and the wine. And invite people to come and sit and stay awake with him to pray until the morning, when we come back together into that empty and dark space where there are no candles lit but the one, where there are no hangings, there's no color. It is very drab. It is very cold, because we are aware that this is the day that God gave us, that God gave God to us. More about that tomorrow for Good Friday. But I just wanted to give you an idea of what it is that we do, at least in my tradition, for Maundy Thursday. What does this first part of the Paschal Triduum mean? And when people leave the church after the Maundy Thursday service, they are the portion of the service. We do not have a dismissal. We just leave in silence, because we understand that the service itself, the liturgy, continues for 3 days. Some of it continues as we move away from the church and then come back. So we leave the building, we leave that space after Maundy Thursday, and we come back on Good Friday. We leave after Good Friday, we come back for the Easter Vigil. All one service with no dismissal. We just pause, go about into life, and come back. It's very beautiful and rhythmic, very lyrical, very powerful. So as I said, if you're interested in seeing the Maundy Thursday service, I invite you to look back in the archives of my YouTube channel to look for Maundy Thursday of 2021, when we had other people reading, we had some music, we had the foot washing, and my husband did an absolutely incredible job of editing it and putting that together. So again, Maundy Thursday of 2021, if you want to see the liturgical side of this. But thank you for joining me for Church at Home today. I will see you again tomorrow for Good Friday.